Welcome back to Squawk Box this morning. The Sprint T-Mobile merger now finally approved, but it's been nearly 2 bumpy years since the deal was first announced. And now that it's here, some are concerned the merger will open the floodgates for other deals that could have the potential to hurt consumers. One of those concerned parties is our next guest, Gigi Sohn, former counselor to the FCC Chairman Wheeler and currently a distinguished fellow with the Georgetown Institute for Tech Law and Policy. She's been a very vocal critic of the deal. Gigi, good morning.
Good morning.
I know you're worried about consumers with this transaction itself, but I also gather that you're worried about potential knock-on deals that'll happen as a result. What do you mean?
Absolutely. Look, this merger was a classic 4-3 horizontal merger. It's one that any normal FCC and DOJ would block. It's also one that any normal trial judge would block. But despite the mountain of evidence that this merger would lead to higher prices and less choice, the trial judge completely ignored it, and he saw this case through magenta-colored glasses.
Okay, so we can relitigate that case, but we're not going to do that now. I want to litigate going forward, which is what do you think is going to happen as a result that you have a problem with?
Oh, this opens the floodgates to every and all mergers, and not just horizontal mergers, but vertical mergers as well. Because horizontal mergers, which are mergers of two companies doing the exact same thing, right? T-Mobile and Sprint both provide mobile wireless service. Horizontal mergers are looked at more skeptically, right? Because you're combining two of the same entities. So if you're going to open the door to this kind of merger of the same companies, imagine if you have companies like the AT&T and Time Warner merger. Let's say,
but the government tried to block that deal.
Well,
so that's why I'm actually skeptical of the position that this administration, and frankly, if a Democratic administration comes into play, is it going to be any nicer about any of this stuff in the future?
Well, look, it is absolutely true that Trump antitrust policy has no rhyme or reason, and frankly, I think it's all political. I think the reason that the Department of Justice went and blocked the AT&T Time Warner merger is because the president hates CNN. And I think the reason they let this one go here is because the president is close to Masa Son, who is the head of SoftBank, which owns Sprint. There's no two ways about it.
I guess the Wall Street Journal editorial board is just a bunch of conflicted partisans, too. And this is what they say. In our hyper-partisan era, judges too often act more like politicians. So give credit to federal judge Victor Marrero for resisting political pressure and greenlighting T-Mobile's merger with Sprint. His decision will boost wireless competition and accelerate America's 5G build-out. I don't think that you don't agree with that. I don't.
That's not that's nonsense. Let me tell you what the judge did here.
Okay.
Yes, let me tell you what the judge.
So you have an opinion, and then the Wall Street Journal editorial board has an opinion too. Is that okay?
That's fine, but let me tell you what the judge did here. If you let me do that, okay? What the judge said, he ignored all the evidence of higher prices. He ignored evidence that T-Mobile and Deutsche Telekom executives wanted to merge 4-3 in order to raise prices. And instead he said, you know what, that John Ledger, I believe him. T-Mobile's always been a maverick, and they'll continue to be a maverick.
That's not exactly what he said. He said
that's exactly what he said.
That is not what he said. He said both sides pull out all sorts of experts. He is somebody who does not have a huge amount of experience in this, has to listen to all of that and try and wade through it, and it is a case of two competing crystal balls. Those are the words he used, where both sides come and they make all kinds of ridiculous statements and all kinds of things that can't be proven. Just to be clear, that's what he said in his words.
But what he also said in his words, if you read the entire 170 pages, is that in the end, he believed that T-Mobile, because it had been a maverick in a 4-carrier market, would do the same in a 3-carrier market. And that's what's false. The incentives change when you go from 4 to 3.
I just want to say he listened to experts on both
factor.
sides. This is what judges do in all cases. To say that he threw it out and he went maverick with all of this, he listened to both sides and he came up with the side that he thought was most believable. He said, I got lots of different competing opinions from both sides. It's like looking through two competing crystal balls.
Except there's one problem with that, Erin, and that is there's the law.
This is Becky.
Okay.
Gigi.
The law says that if a merger will substantially lessen competition, that it has to be blocked. And the judge completely ignored that.
No, he did not. Gigi,
well,
I read through it too. That's not what he said. I'm not trying to take sides on any of this, but you are
trust me, I've read the decision.
Position.
I know what he said.
I know.
Gigi,
this case turned on whether he believed that T-Mobile would continue to be a maverick and not act anti-competitively in the third market. He saw this case through magenta-colored glasses, and he just believed Ledger, and he virtually ignored every single piece of evidence that the government put forth. He basically bought what the company said lock, stock, and barrel. I think he ignored the law. The other thing he did was he talked about how this was a dynamic market, and you can't look at this market like you look at the milk market. And by the way, agricultural markets are pretty dynamic, too. But,
Gigi,
but cell phones are not magic.
Look, Gigi, two things, and we got to go.
Yep.
It's a longer conversation, but I just want to make 2 points. One is that if you really read the 173 pages, which I believe you did, there's also the possibility of the maverick in Charlie Ergen at Dish coming in. Now, some people say that's going to be so insignificant that they can't be a maverick. The other issue is that the marketplace that AT&T and Verizon occupy right now doesn't actually have a third competitor in Sprint and T-Mobile. So it's a real competitive. There is actually an argument there. I think the bigger question is what kind of precedent does this set one way or the other? And I have to tell you, I think it's a jump ball because I'm not sure this sets any precedent. That's the conversation I do want to have with you, and I hope you can come back and we can continue it.
I like that very much.
Okay, thank you, Gigi.